Well, good morning, everybody. A very, very warm welcome to a very warm Norisring here in the south of Germany. It's the fifth event of the season for the FIA European Formula 3 Championship. I'm Chris Hartley, alongside me here at the circuit. It's good morning to Dave Richardson.
I don't think you mentioned warm enough.
Yeah.
Because, truthfully, when Chris and I arrived at this circuit yesterday, well, we actually wondered whether we'd arrived in South Germany or whether we'd arrived in the Middle East. Such was the temperature. Mid 30 degrees yesterday. Now, it's a bit cooler today, but every driver that we've spoken to in the course of our wanderings, if you like, over yesterday and today, they all said just how much the temperature was affecting things yesterday during free practices.
Yeah, Antoine Hubert, who went well very much in the second qualifying session, saying although it was very hot, it was up to 36, 37 degrees, and track temperature considerably higher than that. The tyres were lasting well, the Hankook tyres. So it wasn't really an issue for the tyres, but for some, engines were beginning to overheat. And for the drivers, physically, it was a real challenge because you get no respite around this street circuit, do you?
Oh, you're full on it, aren't you? From one turn to the next. It is absolutely such a short circuit, such a challenging circuit, and such a technical circuit as well. It's a brilliant place. If you've never watched the FIA Formula 3 European Championship from the Norisring street circuit, you are in for a treat.
So we're in the very historic city of Nuremberg. Its streets, or parts of its streets, get turned into a racetrack once a year for the DTM, and supporting it as ever on the F3 Championship. So we've had visits to Paul Ricard in France, to Budapest, Hungary, the Hungaroring, to the street circuit of Po as well, not very long ago for the third event of the season. Last time out, we were at Spielberg in Austria around the Red Bull Ring. So this is the fifth event of the season for rounds 13, 14 and 15 of the championship. And there is the driver who not only is on pole position today, but for this first race, but is also now the championship leader off the back, Dave, of a very strong weekend in Austria with 2 wins and a second.
We are really seeing just how Lance Stroll is conquering the championship so far, by dint of the fact that he's at the top of the table, illustrates just how consistent he has been. And he's almost the measure now across the grid, isn't he, of who you look at and know that that is the benchmark. Yeah,
with the Prema Power team all conquering the last few years.
Yes.
There is the Alessio Lorandi fan club.
Go on,
their numbers.
I dare you to mention it.
Yeah, who we saw, let's say, some of them getting changed into their T-shirts in the middle of the paddock earlier on. Not too shy, let's say. Now, well, last time Alessio was around a street circuit at Po, it went quite well for him, didn't it? He won the race.
Yes, you're right. And where's he going? P19, I think, for this first race, isn't he?
Yeah, because it's all about qualifying around here. Although it is a street circuit where you can overtake, although there are less corners, less undulations than Po. Probably better chance of overtaking around this circuit because you get some long straights. That's part of the reason why the tyres weren't getting too hot yesterday, because you've got quite long straights for the tyres to cool down here. There aren't too many corners, but you go into a couple of hairpins where you can outbrake one another. And we will see, I'm absolutely convinced, some overtaking today in this race. So Lance Stroll on pole position by, well, nearly 0.2 of a second in the end. Callum Ilott was the driver who was on pole for much of the session. It was only right at the end that Lance Stroll pipped him. But unfortunately for Callum, in free practice yesterday, he had an engine failure. We spoke to Fritz van Amersfoort, the team manager at VAR, who ran his car. And they took the oil filter apart, and there was bits of aluminium in there. So it's probably a bearing that went on the car. The big problem, as you see, Joel Eriksson second on the grid, the rookie driver, who raced very well in the Formula 4 Championship, German Formula 4 last year, to be the runner-up, and has had some sparkling races so far in his first season of F3. But of course the big problem for Callum is you get a 10-place grid penalty for the next 3 races. So for all the races this weekend, a 10-place grid penalty, which is even more heartbreaking because in the second qualifying session, Dave, Callum was the quickest driver and would have been on pole position for races 2 and 3.
Now, I spoke to him this morning, and I expected him to be very downbeat and downhearted, but actually he wasn't. He's full of positivity, and I think from where he is today, we may see Callum Ilott vaunt himself up the order, so it'll be very, very interesting to see what he can do from there. And actually, we know he's quick, and this provides yet another challenge for him, and will allow us to analyse still further what is very, very interesting racecraft from Callum Ilott.
It's really coming good now for Callum. Good performances for the last few events of the season. He's second in the championship. So you saw Joel Eriksson, who's going to be second on the grid. Guan Yu, another really quick rookie, a European karting champion a couple of years ago, and the Chinese driver will be third on the grid. Nick Cassidy's got to make the most of this because he's fourth on the grid, but in qualifying 2, which sets the grid for races 2 and 3, gearbox problems. So the New Zealander is going to be at the back of the grid for the rest of the weekend. So he's got to make the most of 4th on the grid here. There is George Russell, promoted up to 5th. The interesting thing here with these front runners, Dave, apart from Lance Stroll, who was nearly 2/10 quicker, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th in qualifying yesterday were split by 43 thousandths of a second.
That's close, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
That's close. Nico Carey we look at now, who is going from P6 on the grid for this race 1. And, of course, maybe a slight advantage to our Formula 3 racers is they're the first competitive cars out on track for a race as we look at Sergio Sette Camara. And of course the temperature has not reached its peak yet, has it? We're expecting it to reach its peak in about 3 hours time.
A little bit of moisture on the circuit during the practice sessions this morning as well, wasn't it? In our hotel, which is only sort of 10 kilometres away. No signs of any rain overnight, but clearly there was a little bit here, so there were certain damp patches on the track this morning, so it's freshened up the track somewhat. There is Max Gunther, who was earlier on in the season leading the championship. He's taken 2 wins this year, one at each of the first 2 events, one at Paul Ricard in France and one at Budapest. So he's just focusing there, Dave, closing the eyes and just getting his brain in gear, memorising the circuit visually, I think probably going through in his head what he's going to do at the start of the race, where he needs to brake, where he needs to change gear, just getting himself set up, ready to go. So Max 3rd in the championship now. Lance Stroll is the points leader on 166. Callum Ilott 2nd on 128. Then it's Max Gunther on 123. George Russell, who had a bad start to the season, lots of bad luck, but is starting chipping away now. He's come up to 4th place in the championship on 109 points, with Ben Barnicoat 5th, but Ben is a long way down the grid for this one. Engine overheating problems, he was saying yesterday. They went for a different setup to try and cool the brakes down, but he was losing a lot of straight line speed, he was saying to us, down the straights, and it didn't really work for him, so he's going to be back in 16th on the grid. There is David Bettman, the youngest driver in the field. He wasn't old enough to compete even at the start of the season, was he, Dave?
Sure.
So the German driver going well, already a point scorer, and in the top 10 on the grid here.
And just behind Beckman is this man, a welcome return to Will Buller, who of course is no stranger to the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Good to see Will back in a car again. The reasons that Will is in the car is following that awful crash with Peter Lee at the Spielberg circuit. So of course we wish Peter continued success in his recovery, but for the meantime Will Buller is back in the car. Late deal with Carlin gets Will back in that Formula 3 car. That's
right. He's a friend of the team, isn't he? Long history with Carlin, and has competed with them at various times before. He used to race in the predecessor to this version of European Formula 3, the F3 Open Championship, the European Open Championship, in which he was a front runner, finished in 5th place. And there is Mikkel Jensen, the driver who will be lining up 11th on the grid for the Muka Motorsport team. So out-qualified for this one by his younger, less experienced teammate, David Bettman, who's come up from German Formula 4 racing. But Mikkel Jensen has really started to get some good results in the last few rounds of the championship. And there is the driver that would have been 2nd on the grid for this race, would have been on pole for the other 2 races, but for this engine change and this 10th-place grid penalty. But still looking pretty chipper, as you say. Callum Ilott has had some very good performances this year. Got the maiden victory at Paul Ricard, got another win around the Red Bull Ring as well. It was a really good weekend for him in Austria, actually, wasn't it? He got the consistency 1st, 2nd and 4th to put him up to 2nd place in the standings. And there is his teammate Antoine Hubert, the French driver, who had a really good record in Formula Renault around the streets of Pau. He was a multiple winner there. Didn't work for him in qualifying this season in F3. Will thought he was going to shine in the weekend at Pau. It didn't ever really happen for him, but clearly he likes street circuits, because although he's a bit further down the grid for this one, he's the driver that inherits pole position for the race later on to come, or one of the races. He's going to be on the front row of the grid, Antoine Hubert, so it'll be one to watch. Good to see Ryan Tveter back, who was the other driver involved in that big crash with Peter Lee. He went off the road. For those of you that didn't see it, Dave, you were there, and in the cloud of dust that was brought back onto the circuit, PeterLee just couldn't see a thing in front of him, could he?
Absolutely not.
And went into the Carlin car.
Yes, came across a car that was absolutely stationary and vaulted over it, and it was absolutely frightening to watch. But through it all, Peter is okay, and Peter is on the road to recovery. That's and good, also the other very, very big strength we should take from that is the integrity of these fantastic Dallara cars.
That's right, yeah. No, there were some injuries for Peter Lee. It does sound like he's going to be out for the season. That's the latest update. But, yeah, could have been so much worse. So we're delighted that at least it's although he's going to be out, he's going to be frustrated, that he will recover. So that's good news for him. Now I'm looking at developments for Formula 3 next year in terms of trying to curb costs and limit what you can do in development of the aerodynamics of the car. They're going to keep the engines, the specifications homologated for another couple of seasons. They've extended that to 2019. And they're also looking at things like different wheel tethers and even more strengthening of the cars to make them even safer. But as you say, we've had a couple of big accidents over the last couple of years, and drivers have walked away, which is fantastic to see.
Yes, it is. And, after that, the horrors of that crash, which involved Peter Lee, the car was, despite the incredible somersaults that it went through and the damage that it incurred, it was still very recognisable as a Formula 3 car. And there we see to the very right of your picture is Rennie Rossin from the Prema Power Team, the team, of course, that run our pole sitter, Lance Stroll, also run our championship leader going into these 3 races here at the Norisring, and that is the man, Lance Stroll. Of course, has interests with the Williams Formula 1 team as well, Chris, and it's a name that we're going to hear a lot about in motorsport, I think, in years to come.
That's right, yeah. He's been developed by the Martini Williams development programme. Somebody else that's announced a programme coming into this weekend is Joel Eriksson, who's going to be lining up on the second row of the grid. He's been picked up by the BMW Motorsport Junior programme, the very quick Swedish driver. He's also going to be running some of the DTM taxis this weekend around the circuit, some of the passenger rides for, so that'll be bit of extra practice for him, I suppose.
There's a couple of guys here, Joel. Wouldn't mind a ride around with you, friend. Whilst we're mentioning Joel Eriksson, not on this FIA Formula 3 grid, another one that's been picked up by that BMW programme is, of course, from the UK, is Ricky Collard. That's
right, yeah. Rob Collard's son, race winner last weekend in British Touring Cars. Struggling to get off the line here. Finally doing so. That's Nick Cassidy, but anyway, gets underway in the end. So Nick has really got to make the most of this. He started the season like an absolute train with 3 second place finishes, almost won one of the races at Paul Ricard. So he was the championship leader at the end of the first weekend of the season, but he's had some bad luck, some tyre problems at the Hungaroring.
Still some patches of water there as we go into turn number 1, which is the Grundig turn. Here comes the starting grid in full for you. Lance Stroll, Joel Eriksson occupy the front row. Then it's Guan Yu Zhu and Nick Cassidy, then George Russell and Nico Carey, Sergio Seta Camara and Maximilian Günther, with David Beckman and William Buller then occupying the first 5 rows of the grid. Then we see Mikkel Jensen, Callum Ilott, Antoine Hubert, Ryan Tvita, Ralph Aron, Ben Barnicoat, Pedro Piquet, Harrison Newey, Alessio Lorandi and Nikita Mazepan go up to row 10.
Yeah, slightly depleted grid from what we had at the start of the year. So Arjun Miney not here. The team, 3-Bond T-Sport team, for example, they're not here this weekend. We know Peter Lee is not here, but we've got Will Buller in his place. But 1 or 2 have dropped out of the championship. Lost Raoul Hyman with budgetary problems earlier in the season after a first round. It's only 20 cars on the grid. That's possibly a good thing around the streets of the Norisring, because look, it's only 2.3 kilometres long. And there is Lance Stroll lining it up then, looking for a hat-trick of wins, because he won races 2 and 3 at Spielberg at the Red Bull Ring. Yes. So let's see if he can claim a hat-trick. 3 wins this season. He got a win at the end of last year as well, so 4 times a winner in F3.
Did you see the way he positioned his car in the box? Deliberately slightly angled now, so he's going to get the inside running into that Grundig turn number 1. Very, very clever. Yeah, no, it's, certainly these circuits, these street circuits, are the tracks where you think the more experienced drivers with a year behind them should shine. That said, Joel Eriksson is there, and Guan Yu Zhu is there as well. Really, 2 stars of the future, I think, those 2 drivers. So the green flag is waved at the back of the grid. The red lights come on. We're about to go racing here at the Norisring. Red lights go out, we get the race underway. Very, very good start for Lance Stroll. A good start as well for George Russell, who's trying to get himself up from 5th on the grid here. It's quite a long run down towards the hairpin for the first time here. And we've got Nico Carey, the Finnish driver in the Red Bull colours, trying to find his way through. But Lance Stroll in the lead. Joel Eriksson is going to get into 2nd place here. Guan Yu Zhu, I think, will be shuffled out to 3rd position. He had a go, he got alongside, but Guan Yu Zhu ultimately couldn't quite get through, and he's having to fight hard now to stay in that position in 3rd place, with Nico Carey and Sergio Seta Camara both making good starts off the line, Dave, as they go through the Choleresis for the first time. Absolutely. First through the first sequence of corners without any contact whatsoever, which was fantastic to see as these 20 FIA Formula 3 European Championship cars continue on the first lap of race number 1 here at the Norisring, with Lance Stroll leading as we watch the back end of the pack now come through turn number 6 and turn number 7 as they head towards the timing line. Lance Stroll leads from Joel Eriksson, Nick Cassidy, Sergio Seta Camara. Those are the top 4.
Absolutely. So good clean start for everybody here in the race. Callum Eilert, I can see in the background, just trying to pull out and charge up through the order, trying to go around the outside. They're three abreast into the hairpin. You're at risk if you go around the outside, but I suppose you've got to take risks when you're further back down the grid. And Callum knows he's got good pace, but the VAR drivers, both of them, Eilert and Huber, who are quick, certainly proved that in second qualifying, but with low grids here, definitely a couple of drivers to watch. But it's Stroll, Ericsson, Cassidy, Seti Kamara, Russell stayed fifth in the end. You dropped back down to sixth place, Jensen in seventh. And then Carey, who was bustling away but never really got anywhere either. Callum Eilert did gain a place up to ninth position, or gained a couple of places up to ninth position on that first lap. Look how tight it is. Ben Barnicot there in the red, white and blue Racing Steps Foundation back car, the high-tech GP team. His teammate to George Russell, who's currently in fifth place in this race, but with Guan Yu Zhu tucked up right behind him here.
Lance Stroll is not getting away. Joel Eriksson is sticking with him, isn't he? Like glue to the back of that car. So that's really, really interesting. Just 3/10 between P1 and P2 at the moment. And there you can see, there is our race leader, Lance Stroll. Little bit of a lock-up there from Joel Eriksson as they go through this fantastic chicane where you run out onto a bit of concrete paved area there to the very left of your screen. A slight change in the surface of the track here. Doesn't really make too much difference in the perfectly dry weather conditions we've got at the moment, but certainly Joel Eriksson means business here. It's the rookie versus Lance Stroll, who is leading the race at the moment as they cross the timing line once again. Lance Stroll, it was 3/10 last time around. It's just 2/10 now. Joel Eriksson has taken another 10th out of him.
And here he comes for it. Comes around the outside here. Lance Stroll is not going to let that happen, surely. So he just sticks to his racing line. But trying to cut back on the inside on the way out of the corner is Joel Eriksson. Absolutely side by side. Lance Stroll, the Canadian's got the inside line here for the next corner though. And Shirt just hold on to it on the way to the shoulder races. But here comes Joel Eriksson through the outside. He's got the inside line for the next corner. And the Swede is through. Fantastic piece of driving that. He'll have to be a little bit defensive coming out of the corner because he took a very strange line to make that happen. But he does it, and what a fantastic drive. Well, Dave, the one thing that I learned very quickly about Joel Eriksson, seeing him race for the first time in F3 at the very beginning of the year, he takes no prisoners.
Absolutely, and now what has happened is that's put Lance Stroll into the clutches, of course, of Nick Cassidy, who's right behind him. But that was brilliant driving from Joel Eriksson. An absolute piece of overtaking art, wasn't it? Supreme stuff. He remained absolutely committed to it.
Never been here before. Only raced in Formula 3 for a few months, yeah, but proved his worth in F4. Good, we're going to get a replay because this is well worth it. Stroll did everything he could here. He didn't really do anything wrong, but Eriksson was just gunning for it, and he was on the dry powder there. He was sliding around, but utterly committed to the move there, Joel Eriksson. We've seen it time and time again from him. We've seen some fantastic overtakes from the Swedish driver, and it's the motorpark man that now leads the race. He's already had 3 podiums in his first season, and I think it was one of the press conferences earlier in the year. He got his first podium very early on in his third race in Formula 3 at Paul Ricard. And we're all like, wow, Joel, that is fantastic. Expected this overwhelming reaction from him. Did you expect to be up there so early in the press conference? Well, yeah, because I was quick in qualifying. So totally, nonplussed by any of this. So fantastic move from him. As you say, Lance Stroll, that's now brought him under a bit more pressure from Nick Cassidy, his teammate for Prema in second place. Sergio Seti Kamara was probably the driver who made the best start of anybody in that first lap. He's gone from 7th up to 4th place. Guan Yu Zhu has got into 5th place while we were looking at the lead battle. He's now ahead of George Russell, down to 6th. And guess who's 7th? Callum Eilert. So one British driver goes back a little bit, another British driver comes forward. Nico Carey is in 8th, Mikkel Jensen 9th, and the final point scorer currently in 10th place is Max Gunther, another of the Prema drivers. There he is in the number 17 car. In fact, wasn't he behind Ralph Aron as they came through over the timing line? They were the other way round, but Ralph Aron, who's another Prema driver, another rookie, F4 champion in Italy last year, coming through the order. Here comes Callum Eilert having a go at Guan Yu Zhu, down the inside under braking the hairpin. Lovely move. He gains another place, Dave.
I tell you what, if 2 overtaking moves that we talk about all season long, it's those 2 that we've seen so far. Been absolutely brilliant. This, I think you're right. 20 cars is just exactly right around this very, very tight Norisring street circuit, and the racing standard that we're seeing so far is absolutely supreme. And Joel Eriksson now 6/10 ahead of Lance Stroll.
That is a good move because
Isn't
it pops out at the last millisecond and breaks deep, but he doesn't, easy to outbrake yourself there and go guns blazing and run wide. George Russell then got the run, didn't he? and tried to have a go as well, but now he's fallen back into the clutches of Nico Carey, and George Russell and Nico Carey swap positions as well, so it's all changed. Arlott's up to 5th, Zhu is in 6th, Carey's in 7th, Russell's in 8th, Jensen in 9th, and my eyes didn't deceive me, it was Ralph Aron who had got away from Gunther, so Gunther's out of the points at the moment, in 11th place, the driver 3rd in the championship.
So as the cars continue then around this sun-kissed Norisring circuit, with Joel Eriksson extending his lead to 6/10 over Lance Stroll, then it's Nick Cassidy, then it's Sergio Sette Camara. Just looking down the timing screen to see where is that a retirement from Will Buller, because he's dropped right to the bottom of the timing screen.
Yes, hasn't he? Yeah, last lap round. Yeah, it doesn't come through this time either, I'm afraid so. This was where Nico Carey was another attacking driver. Sprung a move on George Russell. He was getting pretty close to the wall on the exit to the first hairpin. So very lively race so far. Ericsson's pulled 7/10 of a second clear. There's a 7/10 of a second gap from 2nd to 3rd as well, from Stroll to Cassidy. But this is what Lance Stroll has done really well this year, Dave. When he's not quite been in a position to fight for a win, he hasn't taken the risks. He's been happy to pick up 2nds, 3rds, 4th, and he's the one consistent driver that's been stringing all these point scores together. That's why he's in the championship lead.
And that was, the point I was making right at the start of the programme. What we're seeing from him is you know, really, really good, clever race thinking, aren't we? In terms of, okay, I haven't got the pace, you know, let's bank as many points as I possibly can, because it is that consistency that is going to pay come the end of the season.
And he's got quite a record since he came. He's only been in car racing for a couple of years. As we see a change here, and that is Nick Cassidy about to go backwards behind Sergio Sette Camara, and followed through by Callum Ilott. So two places lost. Yeah, Cassidy drops 2 places in one fell. So good move from Sette Camara. Callum Ilott with some great opportunism there.
To be fair, yes, Callum was able to advantage himself of that, really, wasn't he? But good on you.
Coming, yeah. So then at 3rd and 4th, those two absolutely flying through the pack. Callum Ilott might get a podium out of this. Sensational drive from him so far. He's number 23, Guan Yu Zhu, one of the Ferrari junior drivers. And now he comes under attack by Nico Carey, just behind Mikkel Jensen, watching all of this go on. See, Ralph Aron is still in the number 16 car, just ahead of his teammate in the very similar liveried machine. There is Max Gunther with a yellow helmet, number 17, 3rd in the championship. Here comes Callum Ilott looking for a podium down the inside. Just makes it, but he'll run deep into the corner, and he might lose the place on the exit here. He will throw back through. Goes the Motor Park driver, the Red Bull back driver. Callum's not finished yet, though, is he? Back down the inside he comes. Absolutely fantastic move into the Scholler S's. He's got so much speed here and driving brilliantly. So to remind you, Callum Ilott has come from 12th on the grid. We've only had 9 minutes of racing, and he's already in 3rd place. And they're not done yet. More overtaking going on. It's Nick Cassidy here having the fight through to try and get back ahead of Sergio Sette Camara, which it looks like he's done. So good move that from Nick as well. He's another one who's pulled off some blinding moves this year.
Absolutely extraordinary, isn't it, that Ilott is now in a potential podium place. Great driving.
I didn't think there'd be some overtaking. I didn't think there'd be this much. Whoa, look at that. That was the last of the late break. It's been too late, in all honesty, but he had a go, didn't he, Nick Cassidy? Driving like a man who knows he's got to make the most of this, as I said, with his 2 poor grids to come later on. And knows just in front now of the other Motor Park driver. So Sette Camara got away with that and got it back on the way out of the corner. And then Nico Carey came onto the back of Nick Cassidy. So here he dived down the inside of Sergio Sette Camara. This is for 4th place. Through he went, but too deep into the corner. And he lost the place on the way out of the...
Good awareness by both of them, knowing where they were there. They didn't clatter together, and they so could easily have done so.
Yeah, very good indeed.
What a race we're seeing.
First full season of F3 for Nick Cassidy, Toyota Racing champion, New Zealand championship, and a Japanese Formula 3 champion as well, also doing some GT racing in Japan this year. But popped in and out of the championship as a guest a few times and done well, been on the podium, but having a full campaign this year. So Nick Cassidy fighting hard. Joel Eriksson is the race leader. The gap's come down a little to half a second. Lance Stroll in 2nd place, the championship leader. Callum Ilott with the drive of the race so far. I think it's fair to say, from 12th to 3rd. Sergio Sette Camara in 4th. Nico Carey is 5th. And then it's Nick Cassidy in 6th place. Guan Yu Zhu in 7th. George Russell's down to 8th place now. Mikkel Jensen in 9th. Ralph Aron still only half a second clear of Max Gunther for the final point in 10th.
Okay, ponder this if you will. Callum Islet, P3, has just taken over the last 2 laps 4/10 out of Lance Stroll.
Yes,
We have 22 minutes of the race left.
He hasn't got wings, but he's flying, isn't he? He's 48.4,
Very poignant,
48.8 for the 2 drivers ahead of him, 48.8 for the 2 drivers behind him. So there are 4 drivers in the top 5, all locked together, doing pretty much identical lap times. Then there's Callum Islet, who seems to have found a much quicker way around this circuit than anybody else, driving like a man possessed at the moment. There's Ryan Vetter, who is at the back of the field in 19th place, probably still feeling a little bit sore, I'd imagine, after that crash a few weeks ago. But great that he's got back in the car, the American, his second season with the Carlin Motorsport team. So here is the front of the field, and that gap's come down again, look. 4/10 of a second now between Ericsson and Stroll. Islet's only 1.6 seconds behind the race leader, which means he's only 1.2 seconds behind second place. Bit quicker that time from the top 2. Ericsson 48.7, Stroll 48.6, but still quicker than them both with a 48.4 again. It's Callum Islet. He's the fastest man on the track.
So pieces of the Ralph Aaron car there go missing, don't they?
Yeah, little nick from his teammate. Oh, here comes the wall. Yeah, that's the first one in. It won't be the last one either, just to glance the wall. Hopefully if you hit it square, you don't do too much damage. But you've got to get close to the wall because you've got to get on the power as quickly as you can to make sure you get a run into the next corner. So you have to get as close as you can. You can't afford to be, you know, even 20, 30 centimetres away from that wall. It means you're not maximising the circuit.
There is now just 1 second between Joel Eriksson and Callum Islet.
Yeah.
In P3.
Yeah, again, even quicker. 48.2 last time around.
Where are these lap times coming from? Yeah. Absolutely true. But you can see now on screen just how he's really in this battle now, isn't he?
Well, he's now in qualifying trim. Right, so we saw part of that incident between Gunter and Aaron, and that's the end result of it. So the front wing has come loose on Max Gunter's car, and he's had to pit. So any chance of points is now completely gone. That will put up to 11th place Alessio Lorande, which will cheer on the fan club. And you can see there, as a result of the front wing being loose, he was understeering out of the corners, and that's why I think he hit the wall. The hit with the wall wouldn't have done any good, but I think probably that, I guess that was coming loose anyway from the little clip that he had with Ralph Aaron. So frustrating race for him. And here are our top 3, all glued together. 4th and 5th are nose to tail as well, with Carey. Seti Kamara and Carey nose to tail, and just behind them in 6th place is Nick Cassidy. But here is the battle for the lead of the race, and we're still only just about halfway through the 33 minutes here.
Okay, so now Lance Stroll then is P2. Joel Eriksson is leading the race. Callum Islet is right into this battle now. Last time around, he was another 2/10 quicker, just over 2/10 quicker than the rest. Gets a bit of a wobble on there out of the S's, but holds on to the car and is looking supremely quick as well. This is going to be fantastic, the remaining 19 minutes of this race. It's Ericsson, Stroll, Callum Islet, then it's Sergio Seti Kamara, then it's Nico Carey, Nick Cassidy, Guan Yu Zhu and George Russell. As you can see on screen, the top 8 there in graphics for you as they go through the Grundig turn and head once again into this fantastic chicane at the Norisring, the street circuit. Very, very short, very demanding, and has provided thus far some fantastic Formula 3 racing.
Nico Carey going well on quite a few occasions this year. Got a podium, got a 3rd place finish, and won the rookie division at Red Bull Ring, the 2nd race of the weekend last time out, and has shown some good pace at times. Had a couple of races where it hasn't gone so well either, but this is one of the very good ones. Only his 2nd year of car racing, having been a Finnish karting champion. Raced in the SMP Formula 4 Championship, which he went very well in last year, was the champion. First season in cars, 7 wins in that regional Formula 4 Championship. And here we go with Seti Kamara under attack from Carey. Weaves this way, then that on the way into the hairpin. And if those two keep fighting, Dave, it might allow Cassidy and Zhu, who are 6th and 7th, to catch them up. Here we go again. And so we're going to get first. We're going to get still the number 9 of Sergio Seti Kamara, so the Brazilian driver. He's another one on a real upward curve this season. He's getting better and better, is Sergio, but having to fight really, really hard here to keep Carey behind him. There are the top 3 still tied together. Here comes Nico. Late as you dare on the brakes. Locks up the front right. Skids into the corner. Too deep. Sergio Seti Kamara, for the 2nd time in the race, lets somebody sail down the inside of him. Uses his brains and just gets past them on the way out of the corner, and now has a really big gap relatively, because of all the speed that was scrubbed off. But it was a valid try, valid attempt that from Nico Carey. Oh, no! That's for the lead of the race, and then into Ericsson goes Callum Ilott. The two of them come together. Lance Stroll's gone through to take the lead of the race. We just joined that as it happened into the hairpin. What a shame after all of that, Callum. Let's see what happened. He had a go down the inside of 1 but 2, lost it under the braking. And Joel Eriksson, who was not really involved in that because he was trying to get second place here, trying to get down the inside of Lance Stroll, lost grip, the car skidded out, and poor old Joel Eriksson has the front left suspension broken, the right rear suspension is broken on Callum Ilott's car. And Lance Stroll says, thank you very much indeed, drives through the hairpin unscathed, I believe, and into the lead of the race. There's Nürburgring Haug, former Mercedes boss. Slightly aghast at that, I think.
That was Sophia Flörsch from the German Formula 4 that was watching on. So, well, Callum Ilott then going for a move that really probably wasn't on.
That's a real shame, because that was a stunning drive, wasn't it, up to that point? It's brought out the safety car as well. Like we needed it to be bunched up anymore. It's going to be totally tight now. And, yeah, suspension damaged, the tyres off the rim on the front left. And Joel Eriksson, who was looking for his first win in Formula 3 there, will be fuming, I suspect. Callum had a go, it locked up for whatever reason, and he just couldn't slow the car down in time. And in fairness, you know, he saw the gap. He was going to go for it. Yeah, there was no adhesion there for the brakes. What we also have to bear in mind, Chris, is when you look at the likes of Callum Ilott, these are young drivers who are still making their way, aren't they? And making their way in a fantastic fashion as well. And just sometimes can be a bit overambitious. Well, the hairpin is the key place to overtake on this circuit. You get a long run into it, and you know it's a very valid move to go down the inside of somebody. Any overtake, it's a risk, because nobody's going to wave you through, are they? So it's, every time you overtake, you take a risk inherently, and you've got to do that to be successful in racing. We have seen a couple of times drivers down the inside of there. It clearly hasn't got as much grip, has it? Because we've seen drivers skidding down the inside and then too deep into the corner and losing the place on the exit again. Nick Cassidy did it.
See it again.
You see, just the back end snaps away and he slides into the corner. Joel Eriksson just, couldn't do anything about that at all. But with the speed he's got and the way he drove up until that point, blimey, he's going to be one to watch in the races later on, isn't he?
Oh, for sure.
You can see why he was quick enough to be on pole, couldn't you? Let's have a replay of the start here. Very perfect start for Lance Stroll, no problems at all. Watch Sergio Sede Camara in the background, who made a really good start. Going on the attack for Guan Yu Zhu on the way. You had Carey on one side of him, Sede Camara on the other side of him into the hairpin. Guan Yu Zhu having to defend there and dropping back. Nick Cassidy tried to go around the outside of Joel Eriksson, but didn't quite make it, so tucked into third place at the time. Now, the order is that Lance Stroll leads, Sergio Sete Camara is up to second place, Nico Carey is up to third, looking for back-to-back podiums here. Guan Yu Zhu has already been on the podium several times in his rookie season, is in fourth place. Nick Cassidy's up to fifth, George Russell is promoted to sixth, Mikkel Jensen to seventh in the Muka Motorsport car. Ralph Aron's up to 8th. Antoine Huber has gained 2 places as most of the other drivers with that accident, but he's also gained places on his own. So suddenly, Huber is up to 9th and Lorandi is up to 10th place. Gunther, of course, dropped out as well. And then we got Newey in 11th place, just outside the points, with Ben Barnicoat up to 12th, Pedro Piquet 13th, and Beckman 14th. So we get racing back underway here under green flag conditions. Sergio Sede Camara and Nico Carey were having a battle royale for position before the safety car came out. Now it's going to be for second place, and if they can work together, these two, maybe a chance to have a go at Lance Stroll. But Lance has a very tidy restart there, and he's pulling clear coming out of the hairpin, gets very good traction on the car. So the Prema Power team man, the Canadian driver, in his customary position leading the race. There is the ever spectacular Alessio Lorandi for Carlin. Race winner, Po GP winner, one of the most historic races, one of the biggest races you can win in Formula 3. And he took the victory there by winning the third race of the weekend. And here we go with the two teammates side by side down together. I think it's Sede Camara, is it, that's got his nose in front. And we got Guan Yu Zhu trying to get in the mix as well. No, Carey got through, I think so. Yes, the number 10 car of Carey, who got through to second place. Sede Camara down to third position. And Guan Yu Zhu was having a big go at him as well. It's close behind as well between Cassidy and Russell. Look, they're absolutely will to will. Who's going to come out on top. Side by side again here. Back up the inside for Carey, holding on to the position. Sete Kamara runs deep into the corner. Guan Yu Zhu will get past him and get back into the podium paying position here. Weaving around is the Brazilian.
Oh,
There's contact. Guan Yu Zhu sent into the wall. Rear wing off, out of the race. Had to go for the move up the inside there, did Kamara, who was going to get frustrated by all of that. Tried to go out the inside. He almost kind of looked like he maybe tried to back out of it in the last second, but then there was damage, carnage, and Guan Yu Zhu, I'm afraid, out of the race. And the likes of George Russell and Nick Cassidy picking up points galore here without having to do too much for it. So safety car back out again. What a race this has been. We've had all sorts going on, haven't we? So here is the move from Sede Kamara. So he saw the gap. We have seen overtaking there, and then it was almost like he thought at the last second, no, this is not going to happen. He did, in fairness, I think, try to get out of it, but just clipped the back
damage was done then, wasn't it?
Just clipped the back of Guan Yu Zhu's car. So safety car redeployed second time in the race.
A colleague of ours often says, once one safety car is out, then it kind of breeds others, doesn't it? And that would seem to be the case.
Oh, real shame for Guan, who drove once again very well there, didn't he? He's another bright star, the Chinese driver who shone in kart racing, in European kart racing, and in British championships. Based himself in the UK for a long time, the Strawberry kart racing team, and has made the transition to cars very well indeed. Runner-up in Italian F4 last year. Here's a replay of the first incident. Callum Ilott trying to get second place, go down the inside of second and first, and clipping Joel Eriksson. Ooh. Bang! There you go. And Sweden might be out of the European Football Championships, but he's got a pretty good kick on him, hasn't he?
Yeah.
You understand his frustration, though, don't you? He's taking it out on most of the objects in the pit lane. Absolutely furious. You wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of him for the next 10 minutes, would you? God, he's just
livid, isn't he?
Team trying to calm him down there and give him a hug. I mean, that's what he needs, isn't it? Give him a hug, calm him down. You can understand, so close to getting your first win. It's going to come, though, isn't it? If you keep driving like that.
No question. And the point I was going to make to you, the experience you have from karting circles, you know, when you look at the very, very top level kart racers, Chris, can you identify those that are going to make the transition to kart racing? I mean, is that something that you can identify when you look at some of these stars? Yeah, because the level is so high in karting. And, you know, you look at the qualifying here and you think that's close. But in karting, half a second can cover the entire grid. You know, It's like that all the time. And, it's the drivers who shine through with the really good overtakes, with slightly more maturity to them as well. And Guan Yu Zhu there, replay as Sete Kamara gets into him. Kamara's car, I don't know how damaged that will be from that. Certainly Guan Yu Zhu, we know, out of contention. Yeah, Sete Kamara has stopped. I don't think he's still out there. Yeah, he's pulled off the circuit. And yeah, Guan was one that really did stand out. And China's been itching for a top driver to come through the ranks, hasn't it, for many, many years. And I think he could be the man, very much so. And he's a lovely guy, a really nice chap. So, Lance Stroll leads the race. Nico Carey is up to second. Yeah, there is Sede Kamara's car. So he did carry on, but then he stopped. The point you mentioned earlier on is, you know, the likes of... puncture, isn't he? Front left puncture, George Russell, you know, they're benefiting here from other people's skirmishes, aren't they? And as you say, not having to work too hard to be into a fantastic podium place at the moment, as is George Russell. I should mention also, dear viewer, that Chris Hartley alongside me, himself a former kart racing star, who, were it not for budgetary problems, don't doubt would have made it to the very top in kart racing. I think that might have been just one of the problems. How very honest of you. That was a very long time ago. Okay. And about 3 stone lighter. Right, so George Russell, as you say, quite rightly up to third place now. This will be a bonus podium, this, because at one point, not very long ago, he was 8th in the race. Absolutely. But George will argue, and so will I, he's had some rotten luck this year, so maybe he deserves a bit of good luck. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Look at that car. Nick Cassidy 4th. Mikkel Jensen's up to 5th. Antoine Hubert, he's up to 6th place. He's got good grids for the races to come as well. He's 13th on the grid for this one, Antoine Hubert. He's 6th, he'll take that. Ralph Aron is 7th. Alessio Lorandi will have the T-shirts coming off in a minute with the fan club because he's 8th.
Or maybe not, yeah, standby's not that hot yet, is it? Ben Barnicoat is another one that's benefited 16th up to 9th. He'll be pleased to be in the points.
Yes.
And Pedro Piqué is in the points as well. So a demise of one Brazilian, the rise of another. Piqué into 10th place. Adrian Newey is in that frustrating position of 11th at the moment, not quite in the points. David Beckman is 12th. And then we've got in 13th place the Russian driver who's dead last on the grid, Nikita Mazepin, with Ryan Vetter in 14th. And they're the only runners now. There's some work to be done for the teams when these cars get back to the paddock, ready for the race to come this afternoon. Another race this afternoon, and then one more tomorrow morning. The traditional 3 events per weekend. Well, if the crowd wasn't awake before, it is now, because they've been treated to some fantastic overtaking, some fantastic battles, and B, a couple of very controversial moments as well, and some incidents. So out are Sete Kamara, Zhu, Ericsson, Eilert, Gunter, and Buller, who was out, I think, with technical problems by the look of it, very early in the race, yeah. Although we didn't see it, to be fair, so we don't know what caused it. We just saw him in the pits. It could have been a number of things. You mentioned the point about safety cars inherently trying to, really provoke other safety car periods to happen. It's because you've always got the drivers. The safety car's about to go in as well, by the way, so we'll get some more racing here. It's because drivers see it as an opportunity. Like, okay, we're bunched together now. I'm going to go for this because if I leave it a lap, 2 laps, it's going to be gone out of my range. So it sort of provokes drivers to try and take opportunities, which sometimes work, and as you've seen, sometimes don't. You've got to have a go, though, haven't you, if you want to be a racing driver. So here we go.
Cassidy and George Russell.
Oh, yeah, and George is locking up, but holding the inside line and staying in 3rd place. So, yeah, more contact. That's BK getting a nick from the number 20 car of Newey, trying to get in the points, and Newey's got a broken front suspension now as well. There you go, he's trying to get himself in the points, totally understandably. The pair of them came together, and George Russell under pressure here, and on the wrong line for the hairpin, Dave.
Yeah, Nick Cassidy going through there. He should do. George Russell right on his gearbox, though, on the exit of that turn number 1. Lance Stroll commanding the restart with no problems at all. Nico Carey staying with him. And, of course, George Russell and Nick Cassidy, whilst they're battling, it's allowing Lance Stroll and Nico Carey to get up the road a little bit. Nico
Carey's had a second at Budapest in his second event of the season, yet to win. There is the coming together between Newey and Piqué. Piqué sent up into the air then, but he might get away with it in terms of damage to the car. Fairly hefty hit. Up he goes. Barnicoat getting through both of them and up to 9th place now. And that puts then, well, Piqué's still in the points in 10th place, so if the car's okay, you might still get something out of this. David Beckman will, with the next driver, to have a go in 11th place.
Whilst all this has been going on, something that you and I both mentioned right at the start of the programme is the maturity now of Lance Stroll and in the way that he races. And, actually, whatever has been thrown at him, he's just taken advantage where he can and run his own race and finds himself in the lead, and comfortably so, some 6/10 over Nico Carey, before we see Nick Cassidy P3, George Russell P4. So, again, Lance Stroll, very, very consistent, very mature effort in this race, particularly where it hasn't always gone his way.
Come a long way in a short time, hasn't he? Yeah. Because his first car racing championship was the Toyota Winter Series in New Zealand. He won it. He won his first full season of cars in the Italian F4 Championship. As we see, Ralph are on there having a go at Mikkel Jensen. Jensen just about fending him off. That's for 5th place. So a big queue forming up here. Mikkel Jensen again coming under attack from the young Estonian. The Estonian switches back to the inside, and Ralph Aron goes through. Antoine Hubert in the Van Amersfoort car, the black and orange car, who's from 13th on the grid. He's trying to get in the mix as well. So 5th, 6th and 7th, all absolutely tied together here. And Antoine Hubert's got the better run coming out of the corner, but he'll have to go around the outside at the hairpin. That won't happen. Surely he's going to run out of road here. The wall beckons, and he just clips the wall here. Gets on the gas, loses traction and acceleration, and through comes then Barnicoat to pick up another place. He'd already got in front of Lorandi, so Ben Barnicoat's gone from 9th to 7th during the first part of that lap alone. He's having a real charge here. And whatever changes they have made to Ben Barnicoat's car, they are working because he's flying along again now very nicely. First time for him at this circuit as well. The ex-Formula Renault racer, and he gets to the head of the queue ahead Jensen, and that'll be into the top 6, won't it now?
Yes.
So Mikkel Jensen loses another place, and there's a lock-up behind from Pedro Piquet, who will lose a place to Hubert and possibly to Lorandi in the blue and bright yellow car as well, as Lorandi tries to come through for Carlin Motorsport. She's going to have a go. Look, Lorandi trying to get past Piquet here, again on the outside line, Dave. It's fast and furious, isn't it? The lap is over in the blink of an eye, isn't it? These 48, 49 second laps.
And the trouble is, there is so much going on all the way through the pack that wherever you look, there is another overtake or a move or a potential overtake coming. And whilst all that's going on, Lance Stroll is just quietly going about his business with a 5/10 advantage at the front of the pack.
We've had some really special races in this championship this year. 2 absolute blinders at the Hungaroring, one in the dry, one in the wet. Possibly the best ever Formula 3 races, some people were saying. And this rates up there, doesn't it, for sheer spectacle, as we see David Beckman now making a move, and he's not shy, is he?
No.
First time for him here, only a few weekends in the car, getting past Lorandi. That was Hubert trying to go around the outside, just running out of road, glancing the barrier, so Ben Barnicoat got him. And then Jensen was sort of delayed as well because he'd taken a tight line into the corner. Barnicoat got past him not very long after that. So Barnicoat has now gone from 16th to 6th in this race. Stroll leads, Carey 2nd, Cassidy 3rd, Russell 4th, Aron 5th, Barnicoat 6th, Jensen 7th, Hubert, Piquet and Beckman round out the points.
So around the final turn, extraordinary racing that we're seeing from the FIA Formula 3 European Championship with just 1 minute left on the clock, and it's going to be a fun-filled minute like each and every other one has been around here. So that's probably 2 laps that we can get done before the end of this race. The race being led by Lance Stroll, then the Prema Power Team racer, and there he is, driving car number 1 as a 1.1 second advantage over Carey in P2. Carey has taken a 10th out of that lead. Nick Cassidy is P3, George Russell P4, Aron is 5, and Ben Barnicoat is P6.
So Lance Stroll leading the championship by 38 points coming into this race. Callum Ilott 2nd in the championship, out, no points. Max Gunter is 3rd in the championship, out, no points. George Russell is his nearest rival that's going to get some points here in 4th place. So 38-point lead in the championship. He's about to go up to a 63-point lead in the championship, which is starting to look nice and comfortable at a halfway point in the season. Lance Stroll leads. Nico Carey looking for his 3rd podium of the season, his joint best result in 2nd place. Nick Cassidy, good to see him back on the podium as well. Nick's not been on the podium since the first race at Pau around the streets of the French city a couple of rounds ago, so good to see him back up there. But Lance Stroll has just got his head down now in this final couple of laps of the race. 1.1 seconds is now his advantage over Carey. Cassidy is 0.9 of a second behind in 3rd place. George Russell in 4th position, but he'll take that, I think, being 8th at one point in the race, and good points for him to close the gap to the 2 ahead in the points table as well. More action down at the hairpin here.
This isn't all over yet, is it?
That'll be Beckman at the head of that group. Lorandi's about to come under fire, though, from Nikita Mazepin. The Russian driver has come all the way from the back of the field, and he's very close to getting in the points here, if he can pull off a couple of daredevil moves on the last lap of the race. But almost home and dry now, Dave, for this man, Lance Stroll, extending his championship lead. This will be his hat-trick of wins. 4th win of the season for Lance Stroll here. He takes victory by exactly a second from Nico Carey. 3rd place and on the podium for Nick Cassidy. 4th place, George Russell. 5th, Ralph Aron. 6th place from the almost the back of the field, Ben Barnicoat. Mikkel Jensen, again, consistency from him, and another good score in 7th for the Dane. Antoine Hubert in 8th. Pedro Piquet in the points in 9th. David Beckman in the points again, the youngster, in 10th place. Mazepin was just 0.4 of a second behind him in 11th. A good effort that from the Russian driver, but he just misses the points. Lorandi dropped to 12th in the end. Tveta in 13th. And then out of the race were Newey, with damage on the 2nd safety car restart. Seti Kamara, Zhu, Ericsson, Ilott, when those 2 were 1st and 3rd respectively. And Gunter with damage to the front ring. And we lost Will Buller right at the start of the race as well. So victory for Lance Stroll. Nico Carey wins the rookie division, so that's a win for him, and we'll see him on the top step of the podium for the separate rookie podium. Ralph Aron in 5th place was the second best rookie, and Ben Barnicoat, another podium for Ben in terms of the rookies. He's also the rookie standings leader from Joel Eriksson. Of course, he's not going to pick up, I'm afraid, any points.
So Lance's father, Lawrence, then congratulating the Prema Power team for engineering a fantastic car that sees his son take another win, and commanding win as well. Didn't look like it was always necessarily going to be that way, but that's what was absolutely fascinating about that Formula 3 race. And when you consider Ryan Tvita, who was right at the back of the pack for much of the race, by dint of everyone that has dropped out of the race, finds himself in P13. Absolutely extraordinary, but great racing from Lance Stroll, who just took advantage of everything that he possibly could, and where he wasn't able to take advantage and where perhaps he wasn't the quickest, he was just prepared to bank whatever is necessary. It was just, advantageously, things happen in front of him, and you've got to be in the right place to take advantage of that, and that's what I'm saying about how, he's a vastly more rounded driver now, Chris.
And sometimes you have to concede the position. You have to fight every time somebody gets down the inside of you. Let them go, avoid the crash, and try and get them back on the next lap or the lap after that. And that's what he's done well today, not just today, but all season long, really. So Lance Stroll, when you look at it, one retirement, one time this season that he hasn't been in the points was at Paul Ricard, where he was involved in an incident, a big pileup that happened at the first corner. And was a bit unlucky there. So, his last results, you go back to the second race at Pau, so 3 wins, 2 seconds before that, and a 4th. That's championship winning form, isn't it?
And there's Ben Barnicoat.
Yep, the high-tech GP team really coming good this weekend.
So he takes P6 and P3 in the rookies, does Barnicoat, doesn't he? George Russell is P4 in the race overall. Here is the result in full for you. Sorry, wandering off there. Lance Stroll, Nico Carey, Nick Cassidy, the 1, 2, 3. Then it was George Russell, Ralph Aron. Then it was Ben Barnicoat, Mikkel Jensen, Antoine Hubert. Then Pedro Piquet and David Beckman, the top 10, with Mazepan, Alessio Lorandi and Ryan Tvita, then a whole list of others that we lost during the course of the race for various reasons that Chris has given you the details of earlier on. Lost some big names in that race, didn't we?
Some fantastic overtaking manoeuvres, some manoeuvres which were almost fantastic but didn't quite come off for one reason or another. I suppose that's the nature of the street circuit, where you've got limited overtaking opportunities, though, and of the Norisring. But some really great action. I mean, we can't complain at a lack of entertainment with all of that, can we?
No.
And Lance Stroll's going to be up there. Got another pole to come for the race later on as well. So he's going to be up there on the grid for all 3 races this weekend. And a perfect start for him. 3 wins on the bounce in a season where only one driver, I think, this year has won 2 on the bounce. That was Ben Barnicoat, who won the last race at Hungaroring and the first race at Pau.
How critical is this going into the second half of the season for Lance to go in there, look, on 191 points over Callum Isla on 128, who of course does not score from this particular race? It's a very, very healthy cushion to have at the top of the points chart, isn't it?
It is. It's certainly not unsurmountable,
no.
And you saw second half of last season, Lance was very, very strong as well. One of the top point scorers in the second half of the season. So slow-mos of our top 3. Nick Cassidy, the Kiwi, with 6th in the championship going into this weekend. 3rd place, good for him, but gearbox problems in qualifying mean he's going to struggle to make many more points during the course of the weekend, though I'm absolutely sure Nick will have a go, because he'll be further down the grid. So Nico Carey in the number 10 car, coming home in 2nd place from Motorpark, another strong team this year. Motorpark and high-tech GP really taking the fight to Prema. But it's Prema and their man Lance Stroll that win once again. Toyota Series champion, Italian Formula 4 champion in 2014, 2nd in the rookies behind Charles Leclerc in last season's F3 championship, and now leading in his 2nd full season the FIA Formula 3 championship. Charles Leclerc, by the way, another graduate of Formula 3, announced that he'll be taking part in the practice sessions around the Silverstone Grand Prix for the Haas Formula 1 team. He's going to be doing 5 practice sessions, taking over from Esteban Gutierrez. So good to see Charles, who was top man in the championship last year. He was the rookie champion, 4th in the points. Really good guy, and good to see another F3 graduate succeeding. Many of them moving up to GP3 this season as well. job done for Lance Stroll. Another of these tall drivers that I think gone are the days where single-seater drivers were short types and sort of jockey type formats for their bodies. You know, Jake Dennis last year, Lance Stroll this year, Max Gunther. They're all tall drivers, over 6 feet tall.
Relating to horse jockey as opposed to disc jockey, I'm sure. But you're right. So podium being ready then as we speak. It's a packed programme here at the Norisring, as it always is, this street circuit. As there you can see the podium being readied. Qualifying for the first of the 2 DTM races about to get underway. We can see Manfred Sandbichler from Hankook Tyres to the left-hand side of your picture there on podium in the white shirt. He clearly is going to be one of the trophy presenters today, as here comes Lance Stroll then onto the top step of the podium. There's his father Lawrence to the left and Rennie Rossin then to the right-hand side from Prema Power Team, as they see their charge at the top of the pack.
I don't think good to see him back up there. He had to fight for that one as well, didn't he? Really in the mix of the action. So Nick Cassidy in onto the podium. We're waiting for Nico Carey. So Nick has been called at first. Oh, hello, Nick's second place. He's trying to take it anyway. Nico Carey, where are you? Here he is. Hello. He's off having a chat somewhere, but he makes it. So our second place man, Nico Carey, onto the podium. So Nick Cassidy to the right of the picture, third. Nico Carey in second. And in the middle of the podium, another win. Third on the trot for Lance Stroll is his national anthem. So the Canadian national anthem plays out for the 4th time this season. Lance Stroll more than 60 points clear in the championship now. Still lots of work to do. Manfred Sandbichler then from the official tyre supplier Hankook presents another trophy to Lance Stroll. Another one to find a home for. On a shelf somewhere. More and more shelves being put up in the Stroll household, I imagine. And you can't imagine how many trophies this team have got. Prema Power Team, the winning team. Not quite so dominant this year as they have been in previous years, but still up there in the mix. Nico Carey receiving his second place trophy to add to the second place he got in the first race at the Hungaroring. Got a podium as well, as I said, at Spielberg last time out. And there is Nick Cassidy, desperate, utterly desperate to get a win in this championship. It's not likely to come this weekend now. Well, you never know. He's going to be at the back of the grid. Maybe that'll be a good place to be, though, with everything that went on in the race today. We saw drivers coming through and getting good results, didn't we? But he's had 4 seconds now and a third this season, Nick Cassidy. Showing what a very, very good all-round driver he is, be it in single-seaters or GTs. So there are our top 3 drivers, our winning team here at the Norisring. Another race to come this afternoon. It's champagne time now for though. Time to spray, get those suits nice and sticky and sweet and wet, and get the spares on for the race to come later on today. 5:15 local time, the race will start. So I look back at some of the highlights of what was a very good race to watch. Lots of entertainment, lots of great overtaking, but in the end, another victory for Lance Stroll. From Dave Richardson and me, Chris Hartley, hope you enjoyed the action.